Hello and welcome to i-nastava. This is English language lesson for the second grade of secondary school. Today's topic is unusual jobs. My name is Rejhana and I will be your teacher today. By the end of the lesson, you'll be able to ask different questions about jobs and write a dialogue on the topic of employment. For today's lesson, you'll need a pen and a notebook, a device with internet connection, and a QR code reader. We'll start today's lesson with a fun activity where you need to write one job for each letter of the alphabet. I know that some letters can be quite challenging, but try to do your best. Think about it. If you can't come up with a job for a letter right away, continue, skip that one, and then return later. Maybe something will come to your mind. Here are 6 different images. Some of them represent jobs which are usual every day, but there are some which are not so frequent. Can you guess from the images which jobs they represent? What do you think about the first one? What can you see in this picture? This one is an unusual one, and I could say a very attractive one as well. It's called a Netflix tagger. Netflix hires part-time employees to watch TV shows and movies and tag them with genres. It's not easy to get. Netflix keeps the amount of taggers on their team small, but for those lucky enough to be selected, it's really a dream. Next one is a chef, and we could say it belongs to the group of the usual jobs, as well as the next one, a teacher. Although they are quite difficult, there are a lot of people with these professions. Then there is another unusual one. Do you know what's in the last picture in the first row? These are Chinese fortune cookies. You get them at the end of a meal in a Chinese restaurant. Inside, you can find a sentence that predicts your future or gives some kind of advice. Can you guess the unusual job connected to them? It's not baking the cookies. It's fortune cookie writer. Someone has to write these fortunes for the customers. Then there is a postman, also one of the more usual jobs. And this last one, what do you think? This job is called bed rest participant. NASA occasionally hires people to participate in bed rest studies. In one study, people were paid $5,000 a month to stay in bed for 87 days straight. Participants are set up with a TV, computer, and video game console and are allowed visitors. So, which one would you like to do, if any, and why? Can you choose at least one? Now, I'd like you to think about some questions you can ask to find out more about a person's job. Please pause this lesson now and write down any questions that come to your mind. Here are some examples you could have written. What do you do, or what's your job? Do you like your job? What's a typical day at your job like? Do you have to work overtime? Is it a full-time or a part-time job? Do you work long hours? I hope you have managed to write some of these questions and some others as well. Now we'll get to know some more unusual jobs. Please type in this link bit.ly unusual job or scan this code and watch this short video. While watching, you have two tasks. One is to list all the questions you hear in the video you can ask about a person's job. There are some at the beginning and some at the end of the video. The second task is to write down the names of the jobs. There will be only 3 of them. And one interesting thing you remember for each job. You can watch the video more than once if necessary. And here are the questions from the video. What do you do? Do you work for a big company or a small firm? Maybe you run your own business. Are you self-employed? Do you work in an office or your job involves a lot of traveling? And are you happy with your job? And here are the jobs. There's some suggested interesting information about each job, but you might have something else, and it's okay. The first job is a food taster. They check food safety of rich and famous people, and the job is dangerous. Then there is a professional cuddler. They can earn up to $80 an hour. And the last one, a dog surfing instructor, because dogs also enjoy surfing. Next, we listen to 2 people talking about their unusual jobs. Please take a close look at these photos and try to guess the jobs from the pictures. If you can't, you'll find out during listening. This is the task for you to do after you hear these 2 people speak. You should decide whether these statements are true for the first or the second speaker, for both of them, or for neither of them. You should listen very carefully, even repeat if necessary. These are the statements, and you can copy them into your notebooks. Who works alone earns more money a year? Who has to wear smart clothes at work? Who has a university degree? Who has food restrictions? Who loves their job? Who has fulfilled their childhood dream? Who says it's not difficult to get that job? And who creates new products? Now let's listen.
Ever since I was a little girl of 4 or 5, I was fascinated by my mother's infinite collection of nail polish bottles. She used different colors for different occasions, and I was thrilled when she would polish my nails in pink girly shades. Some years later, I started wondering what lies behind it. How are all these shades created? And more importantly, who gives them these fabulous and cute names? And now that's my job. I get to create nail polishes and give them names. It's not an easy job, though, and it doesn't have a standard workday schedule. It all depends on what our company's focus is at the time. Sometimes we work on the brand plans for the next period. We forecast trends, decide what products to launch, and my personal favorite, test them out. It's so much fun. We also decide on packaging and designs, monitor sales, and speak with influencers, celebrities, or bloggers who advertise them. Of course, I don't do that on my own. I have a great team and we work together perfectly. The most exciting part of my job is actually seeing the product we've launched on the shelves in stores. Sometimes I can't believe we've made it. The worst part is dealing with customers. No matter how much effort we put into it and test it, there will always be people who aren't satisfied and post about it on social media. I try to work it out with them, offering a refund and an apology, and it usually goes well. But it's stressful, and I would like all the customers to be happy with our product. I studied business in university and have a degree in marketing. I started my work experience as a marketing and sales assistant. Unfortunately, the competition in that department is huge, and you really have to stand out. You can also have a degree in fashion and art to get into the business. When it comes to creating and naming nail polishes, it can really be challenging. You must have a good sense of color and style, like I do. I also love decorating fashion and beauty. When I think of colors and create them, it's a great way to self-express. I look for inspiration in food, music, and above all, in my travels. You have to be very imaginative and use all your personal experience. Everything can be an inspiration, you just need to be open-minded. The process of naming a shade can last for about 6 hours, but it takes about 6 months to complete an entire collection. The salary in this line of work can vary between 60,000 and 90,000 pounds, depending on the scope of work you do. But what's more important than money in this profession is passion, and I am really enjoying it.
My job is to taste test ice cream. The job is also called taste master, food scientist, sensory analyst, or flavorist. It's a full-time job, and it includes assessment of different flavors based on texture, color, smell, and appearance. In addition, I also invent new ice cream flavors and present new flavors to customers at supermarkets. It's not usual to talk about money, but I can't complain. I earn up to £70,000 a year. I've been in the business for 23 years now, and I can say that I really like it. I usually start my day at 7:30 because my taste buds are most objective at that time. I spend about 5 hours tasting around 20 different flavors at different stages of production. 3 samples of each flavor, which makes 60 samples a day. From March to September, I also work in supermarkets around the country, where I give out samples of our new flavors. Creating new flavors is also a part of my job description. I have to be really imaginative there. Sometimes it works and people like it, but sometimes it doesn't. What are the requirements? Well, apart from being extremely imaginative, you'd need to be patient and have healthy taste buds. You need to evaluate each flavor as objectively as possible. Therefore, I never drink coffee. I have tea in the morning, and I also need to avoid anything that could clog my taste buds. Just to be sure, I have insured them for £1 million. First, I pay attention to the appearance of the ice cream. It must look good. The temperature of the ice cream for tasting is about 10 to 12 degrees. That's optimal. Then I swirl it around my mouth and spit it out. The positive side of my profession is that I can get an unlimited supply of ice cream, of course. And the fun part is that when somebody asks me what I do for a living, I can say, I eat ice cream. But there are some drawbacks as well. I have gained a few kilos, unfortunately. Of course, you can't be a smoker or eat anything spicy for 24 hours before tasting, since it would influence your taste buds. Jobs like mine are high in demand. You can't just come in and say, I want to be an ice cream taster. The standard procedure is to have a Bachelor of Science degree in dairy science or food science like me. It's also an advantage if you have had a part-time job in an ice cream parlour where you can gain first-hand experience in dairy, taste testing and business. I love my job and I hope to be able to do it until retirement.
Now let's see your answers and if you have managed to mark the right columns. Speaker 2 works alone. Speaker 1 earns more money a year. Neither of them have to wear smart clothes at work. Both of them have a university degree. Speaker 2 has food restrictions. Both of them love their jobs. Speaker 1 has fulfilled her childhood dream. Neither of them say it's not difficult to get that job. And both of them create new products. No, we haven't got to know enough unusual jobs yet. There are 13 more to learn about. Please follow this link bit.ly 13 unusual jobs or scan the code and read short descriptions of jobs and choose 3 you find most interesting and you might consider doing. In the text, you have come across some words and phrases that might be new to you. And if you follow the link bit.ly jobs log, you can match these words with their descriptions. The link is available to you at all times and it's very useful for practice. You can also scan the code. You can copy the words and descriptions in your notebooks later. Now I have something special for you. It's a breakout game. It's like an escape room. You need to solve all the tasks and collect numbers for each task. In the end, you can enter these numbers, there are 4 of them, to get your reward. All questions are connected to the text you have just read, and you can find all the answers there. If you are not sure about something, you can always go back to the text and look for that information. It's not cheating. But first, try to solve it on your own without looking. Here's the link, bit.ly breakout jobs, and the code you can scan, and you're welcome to enter the breakout game. I hope you were successful and managed to answer the questions and collect all the numbers. I also hope you had fun doing it. Now I have another fun task for you. You should write a dialogue. Imagine a friend of yours recently got a new unusual job. You need to create, imagine, invent that job. If you have problems, you can use one of the jobs we talked about today. So, you should write a dialogue between you and that friend where you ask different questions about that job and he gives you his answers. This is a great opportunity for you to be creative and only sky is the limit. Here are some topics that might help you. You should include questions about the job itself. For example, what are some usual tasks he does? Does he work long hours and how many a week? What education does he need to have for that job? What does a typical day at work look like? What are the positive and what are the negative sides of that job? You should write between 100 and 120 words. And of course, there's a checklist to help you. I'd like you to read these 4 statements carefully and see if you have completed all the tasks required. Of course, you should include questions from today's lesson. When you are happy with your work, you can send it to your teacher to get some feedback. I hope you had fun today and learned something new. Until some other time, bye-bye.